Hi, I'm Stefan, the BMW DIY guy. My project today is I'm going to be doing a wheel stud conversion on my BMW 435. Now, I'm doing that specifically so I can put on spacers. Now, what are spacers? They are metal discs that sit between your hub and your wheel to push your wheels out a little bit. Now, most folks either have a square setup or a staggered setup on your wheels. Now, what does that mean? A square setup means that your wheels, front and rear, are the same size, same diameter, and so they're perfectly even, front and rear. That's what my car used to be with the OEM wheels that it has. Now, I've got OEM wheels on now, but they're bigger. I got a set of 19s, and they are staggered setup, which means that the rears are bigger than the fronts. Now, what you can end up with in either case is you can end up with your wheels being recessed into the wheel well a little bit. Now, if you've got a staggered setup like I do now, that recess amount is different because your wheel sizes are different. So if you want to correct that, if you want to push your wheels out a little bit, you want to have them be even or flush with your wheel wells, make it look a little more wide body, a little more aggressive, wheel spacers are how to do it. So I'm really excited. I got this from Kies Motorsports. I even have the new Kies Motorsports wheel lug socket, which is really cool, and it's protected with plastic. So that way you don't actually ding up your wheels as you use it. So I'm really excited just to even use this today. So let me walk you through it. Now I've got 3 different sizes of wheel spacers. So I'm gonna walk you through all of those. So I've got 10, 12, and 15, and they come in pairs. So the question is, what combination am I gonna end up with the 10s and 12s and 15s on my car? Now, I probably shouldn't have to say it, but I'm saying it anyway. Same sizes on both sides, right? You wouldn't have one size, one size on one and one size on another, okay? But fronts and rears. So I'm gonna bring my car up, I'm gonna jack it through. Now, before I do that, I'm gonna give you a quick walk around on the car so we can actually look and see kind of that gap, that recess of how far the wheels are in. So when we start, excuse me. So we'll walk through that, then I'll show you. I'm gonna have the car up and down, I'm gonna have the wheels off a bunch and put them back on and have the different spacers on and off and on and off to show you the differences. But we're gonna start with the stud conversion kit first. Okay, so let's take a look at the car, what it looks like while it's on the ground with OEM wheels and the OEM wheel studs. All right, so let's take a look at what we've got. So I have got OEM 19s, and these are from a 2016 435. I actually had OEM 18s on before. I got a great deal, so I picked these up. My previous set were also a square setup, which again means the front and rears are the same size. And this is a staggered setup. In this case, my fronts are 225 40 19s, and the rears are 255 35 19s. So staggered setup. So as you can see, and as you look at this, look pretty good from out here, but there's a little bit of gap where they're recessed in a little bit. Now I've measured this, so I didn't just use my fingers, but as you can see, when we kind of look straight down and I stick my fingers in until I hit the sidewall, I mean, that's about that much of my finger, right, going in there. What we're gonna wanna do is push them out a little bit. They're gonna come out of that wheel well just a little bit. Same thing when you go back here and we look at the rears, which are gonna be a little bit bigger. As you can see, as we kind of look straight down, you can see how the tire disappears on the inside. Now, the other thing this is going to do is we push them out a little bit. And as you can see, there's a little bit of the tire just kind of on the very bottom curve that's on the outside edge of that. That's also going to push that out just a little bit, right? So I'm going to get a little bit more dirt, a little bit more water that comes up with the wheels out just a little bit further. But as you can see, it's pretty straightforward. Now, the other thing is, there's no one set solution for sizes, because I asked this question, you probably will too. So, okay, so what size do I need? 10s or 12s or 15s or 18s or 20s, or what is it you need? Well, it's gonna depend. It's gonna depend on your tires, your wheels, your setup, and the look you're going for, which is actually why I ended up with 3 different sizes, 10, 12, and 15s, because we're gonna go through the combination of all of them. And I'm going to get the car up off the ground, put them on, put the wheels back on, put them back down, so on and so on, and show you through all 3 kind of iterations. Now, the other thing you wanna do is use a tape measure. I mentioned that earlier, that I actually used a tape measure instead of just my fingers, right? Now, the other thing that I always want to do is I always want to mention, you can see I've got my quick jacks out. So I'm going to have my car up in the air quite a bit. As you do this process, you can do it with a single jack. You can do it with a jack stand, but please do it safely. I always stress safety when getting your car in the air. Do not let a $5 hydraulic arm in your jack kill you. That would be really, really bad. My investment in my quick jacks was really good. If you can do it, I would suggest the same. And there's some great products like quick jack out there to use. And it makes this a lot easier. So what I'm going to do is we're going to do the stud conversion first, and I'll show you how to do that. Then we're going to walk through the spacers. So loosen your lugs while it's still on the ground. So that's going to be a 17 millimeter, and I'm going to use my new Kies Motorsports socket and use a breaker bar to break open my lugs all the way around. And then we'll get the car up in the air, wheels off, and then I'll show you how to put the stud conversion kit in. All right, so we're at the driver's front, and I'm going to show this once because it's going to be the same all the way around, and it's really not that hard. So one of the things you want to do first while you're here is actually clean your rotor itself. Now, my rotor is new, so I don't have any rust or any issues or anything going on here, because this also is an aluminum hat rotor. So I don't have any rust issues here, so it's nice and clean. You also have this your inner ring here, which can get rusty and kind of gross. You might have a cap here, you might not. Mine don't. Probably should, but they don't. So I also used my Dremel tool and little wire wheel when I did my brake change video and cleaned all of this off. So it's still clean, like the surface is smooth. I can get a little bit of just dirt and grime off when I run my finger on it, but it's clean. So make sure that both these surfaces are good to go for your spacer. You don't want it uneven or any dirt or rust or anything on here. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm also going to clean my calipers while I'm here. I mean, the fronts I can get to pretty easy, but I'm just going to take probably some Simple Green and a paper towel and just wipe down the rest of my caliper, all the places I can't really get with my car washing mitt. I mean, I might as well with my wheels off, right? So doing this itself is pretty simple. Let's look why. So here's our new stud. You've got the short version, you can see with the ridge here in the middle, and you can tell which end is which. One end is closed up, one end has your 5 millimeter connection for your socket, right? So you're going to take a little bit of Loctite, and you have medium strength blue Loctite. You're just going to put a drop on and then just finger screw it into place, just like that, nice and simple. Now obviously I don't have the Loctite on yet, so I'm not going to do that yet, but you just screw it in until it's nice and tight, and you're done. It's that simple. And then you're going to use your torque wrench and crank it down to 25 foot-pounds. Now, if you have one of the mechanical ones, make sure you have it set to the correct, and as you tighten it down, your torque wrench will click, stop immediately. Or I actually went ahead and invested in a digital one, so I set it to 25 pounds. You know, I can set it to any measurement that I want, set it to 25 pounds, and it beeps and vibrates when I hit to the right place. Now, let's also take a look at why. I get to look at the back of my head here, sorry. So, you need to change these is because of the length of the two. As soon as you add spacers on, you're not going to have enough threads for your wheel to be on securely. So what you need is, you need more distance and more thread length to make sure that your wheels are on tight with your spacers. So it's really that simple. So I'm going to take this back out. I'm going to put my little dab of blue Loctite on it, screw it back into place, screw it in, tighten it down, do all the rest, do the rest all the way around, and we'll come back. So it's really that easy. Let me show you when this wheel is done, just what it looks like, and you're going to see how much easier it is with a stud conversion on. Because, you know, the other hassle, I mean, if you followed my videos and follow my channel, you've seen how many times I have my wheels off. It's a lot. And without the studs, you're like trying to line it up and hold your wheel up and the whole 9 yards. And this, you just buck it up and just thread it right through the posts. So it's going to be a lot easier. So let me show you what this looks like when it's done. All right, I just want to show this last one. So I'm using, the Loctite I'm using is not a liquid, it's a gel. So in this case, it comes out a little bit gooey, but you don't need very much. And this is why I wanted to show the last one. If you're using the liquid, it's literally it's just a drop. And in this case, I mean, it's just a little bit of the gel. So just you don't have to coat the whole threads. If you get extra on, like I did in that case, I'm just gonna scrape off the extra. You just need a little bit. So let me set that down. So, and then, screw this into place. I just wanted to make sure to show that because you don't have to coat the threads. It's just a drop. As you thread this into place, it will spread through the threads as you spiral that in. Okay, so now I've got my torque wrench with my 5 millimeter here on the end, and it's going to be 25 pounds. And in this case, there you go. So, and in my case, it beeps and vibrates when it's done. Make sure just to work your way around. Do all them. If you have the classic torque wrench, it'll click just like that. Okay, So as you can see, that's almost all done. I'm just going to do the rest, and then I'm going to work my way around the car and do all the others, and then we'll talk about the spacers. All right, so as you can see, all the new studs are on. But if I learn a lesson along the way, I'm going to share it with you. And this is where my inner hubs are pretty clean, and I even mentioned that I can run my finger on them and they feel pretty good. But here's what I notice. So as I take my first, and this is the 10 millimeter spacer, and I fit this into place, it doesn't quite want to fit all the way back smooth and flush. Now, I think I could probably jam it in there, but that doesn't seem like the greatest idea. And what it is I started to look at the, this hub right here, this inner hub, as I took a paper towel and cleaned off a little bit of the crud, the spacer slid on a little bit better. So I'm gonna clean those inner hubs. See, now I'm gonna have to get it back off. And that's okay, it'll come back off, as you can see. It's just working its way back off here. So it's definitely tight. So what I would have done in retrospect, if I'd realized this earlier, I would have gotten my Dremel out again, and I would have cleaned it with the wire wheel. I would have cleaned that little hub with the Dremel before I put these studs on, because it's going to be just it's going to be easier to get around it, right, with the wire wheel. You can also do it with sandpaper as well. So I'm going to get that cleaned up. So I'm going to get this back off, and it's just coming back off, as you can see, no big deal. But I'm going to get these cleaned up, because what I want these to do is to sit back flush. I don't want them to bind up or be stuck or anything. I want them to sit back flush and easy, especially when I'm going to be changing several of these. What I'm going to do for my first configuration is I'm going to put the 10s in the front and the 12s in the back, and then we're going to compare and we're going to take a look at what it looks like. But let me get this cleaned up first. If you have a Dremel with a wire wheel, use that, or just use good fine grit sandpaper and get those cleaned up. All right, like 30 seconds with the wire wheel on my Dremel. So if you have that tool handy, I would definitely do that. It makes it easier. I just want to show you the difference, because I'm going to run around and I'm going to do all the rest, right? So, but you saw how it kind of got stuck on before? Bang. All the way back in flush with the top of the rotor hat. So definitely makes a difference. So if you're watching this video before you do the work, I would recommend cleaning this inner ring before you put your studs on, because it's going to make it a little bit easier. The wire wheel on my Dremel is small enough that it doesn't get in the way at all, so it's not a big deal. But if you've got a big wheel, or you just want to do it before it's on here, that's what I would do. So I'm going to put the other 10 on the other side after I clean up all of the hub rings on all 4 wheels. So I'm going to put the 10 on the front, the 12s on the back, and then I'm going to put the wheels back on, and I'll show you just fitting the wheels back on and the way the nuts fit on differently, and then we'll put the car down, take a look at the differences. All right, so I've got the 10 millimeter spacers on the front, the 12 millimeters on the rear. I already have the rear tires on and the driver's side front tire on. I just wanted to show you putting the passenger on. So what I usually try to do is match the pattern of the studs to the pattern of the wheel as I lift the wheel up, just to make it a little bit easier to guide into place, just like that. Now, what I also tend to notice is that the wheel will want to tip from the bottom. So what I usually will do is we'll take one of the nuts and just fit it into place here to help hold your wheel and keep it from tipping really radically on the studs. Now, these new nuts also have texture on the end, so to make it easier just to spin them into place. So you can put a bottom one on, you can put a top one on, just in finger tight, so the wheel will sit straight, and then you can tighten down the rest. Now, keep in mind, this process is going to be a little bit different, because I'm going to show you the changes as I go through different sizes of wheel spacers. But keep in mind, again, a reminder, if you are one and done here, that when you put these on, you tighten them in a star pattern, right? Doesn't matter where you start, but it always goes in a star pattern, okay? So make sure to do that. The other thing you never want to do is not torque down your lugs or your lug nuts in this case. I'm going to use my impact wrench on a low setting to just tighten them down just a little bit, right? And even then, I'm going to do them in a star pattern to make sure that the wheel is on straight. I'm not spending a lot of extra time on this right now, because again, I'm about to put the car back in the air and take the wheels back off, right? But even then I want to make sure it's on straight. So just put the rest of these on, tighten them down, and then I'll show you what it looks like with the car on the ground, and we'll see how well these 10s and the 12s fill up the space. I already have a feeling that we're going to end up with 10s in the front and probably 15s in the rear. We'll see. But once we get on the ground, we'll get a good look at it. All right, so the car's on the ground and all good to go. Man, this is going to be close. So I think the 10s for the front are going to be right. And I'm going to do my best to try to give you a view that's almost hard to see even in person. So as we kind of look, we look down and then we look and we look into the wheel frame and we look wheel well and we look when the tire disappears, right? I think that that's just right about where it should be. I think if they came out any further, like if I put the 12s on the front, they're going to stick out too far. You know, they're going to stick out just a little tiny bit. Like so, for example, when I look at the curve here in the front, I see a little bit of exposed tire now, just a little bit. So I think the 10s for the front are going to be perfect. So let's roll here to the back and look at the back. And it is close. There's just a little bit. So like I bring my hand down. Man, this is hard to film. It's honestly hard to film. It's hard to see. So it's hard to film. When you look at it, look at when the tire kind of disappears. So I think what I'm going to do, and also show for you guys as well, I'm going to pull one of the rears and put on the 15. Keep a 12 on one side and a 15 on the other so we can compare. Because I think the 10s for the front are going to be right. It's really close. You can see a little bit more exposed tire in the rear as the fender cuts away. But when you look at the top, it's still recessed just a little bit. So, you know, we're looking for between 12 to 15, that's 3 millimeters. So I'm going to put the car back in the air. I'll pull one of the rear tires, I'll put the 15 on, and I'll show you the difference. All right, as a quick check-in here, so this is the passenger side rear. I've got the 15 on. It's not even a 3 millimeter difference, it's a 2.5 millimeter difference because the 12s are actually 12.5. So it's a 2.5 millimeter difference, as you can see. So right onto place, I'm gonna put the tire on, put the car back on the ground, and then we'll compare the two rears. All right, so we're gonna try the impossible here. This is hard to see with the naked eye, so I'm really gonna hope the camera does this some justice. But here we are on the driver's side. It still has the 12.5 millimeter. So you can kind of look in, and as you move to kind of occlude the tire with the body of the car, you can kind of see where it fades away. I run my fingers down. You can kind of feel where it hits the tire. Just like, just a little bit. It's like just short of poking out. So let's look at the 15 millimeter side. Look here, kind of look as it occludes the tire. And it's really just, I think that's going to be the difference. I think that the 15 is going to be the way to go. You can kind of see as the tire looks. Now, let's take a look here from the back angle. You know, gotta check out his butt. You can see, kind of looking down the body of the car, kind of where the tire meets. And as I kind of occlude it with my eye, I can see the wall of the tire seems to match up right with the outer lip of the wheel well, which on this side, as we look again, look here, and to the eye, it's back just ever so slightly. So I think we're gonna go with the 15s. I'll keep the 15 on this side and then I'll replace the 15 on the other, and I think that's gonna be the way to go. So for my car with these wheels, we're gonna go with 10 millimeter fronts, and I'll still have the 12s. So if sometime in the future, I wanna bring the fronts out a little bit more, but as I look at the fronts, I really think that they're really dead on. As I look at it, I think out a little bit more would be bad, I really think. I don't know, we'll see. But that's the good news. So for now, and even though if I change it in the future, look in the video description, and I'll put it in an update that I changed the 12s in front. But for now, we're gonna go with the 10s in front and the 15s in the back. All right, pretty much all done. Car's still in the air, as you can tell, which leads to the last point. Make sure to torque your wheels when they're on the ground. So I'm gonna put the car down, and you torque down your lug nuts to 105 or 106 foot-pounds, depending on what you read. So you can only do that on the ground. You can't do that in the air. So that's the last thing I'm gonna do. Then I'm gonna clean up and put all my tools away. Thank you to Kies Motorsports for this fantastic project. I love working with them, and they're a fantastic company. Tell Brian I said hi. If you like what you've seen, please click subscribe and the little alarm bell, as I always have more projects coming and a lot of background noise. So thank you so much. I'll see you on my next video.